Hello guys, today I want to farm Asmongold on YouTube. This is just gonna be a one-shot video probably. Um, he got banned on Twitch recently, and I want to react to his latest message. Alright, let's get this started.
Hey guys, it's me again, and usually at this point I've already made like 2 or 3 other videos about why I got suspended on Twitch, and I've been farming this a lot, but unfortunately something that has nothing to do with Twitch at all actually took precedence over this, and that's why I haven't really made any comments or said anything on anywhere about any of this. And so first part of this video is going to be talking about that, and then the second part is going to be talking about the Twitch suspension. I got suspended for 2 weeks. I'll probably try to appeal it, see if I can get it down to a week. We don't really know. If not, maybe I'll stream on Kick or something. Maybe I'll just take a vacation. I'm not really sure. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, that's the TLDR. So about 3 or 4...
I would definitely watch him on Kick. I don't care. I wouldn't mind, honestly. Yeah, okay, let's go.
4 days ago, because the day that I got suspended, I actually didn't even go live. Now, why is that? Well, it's because the day before that, I had a health symptom that was identical to my dad's health symptom before he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So this, I got really upset. I was freaking out. And so I'm laying in bed, I'm fucking petrified, I am like panicked, I'm looking things up online, I'm messaging people, I eventually go to the emergency room and I go through all of this, and I don't want to get into the details of what the symptoms were or anything, because honestly it's kind of gross, but all you need to know is that that's pretty much what happened. And so I fell asleep on the futon over there, and I wake up, and this is like the day I got suspended, and I had been, like, at this point, I had not been on my computer at all in like 24 hours, right? Because I was so stressed out and upset about this, all I could do was just lay down, and I didn't know, like, am I dying? Is there something wrong with me, right? And so I look at, and I see the reflection, like, this is just stupid, but like, I can see the reflection of this monitor from this monitor, and I can kind of see, like, are there new messages? And I saw that there was like a post about like a tweet, and I'm like, I just had a feeling that I was getting suspended, right? I just had a feeling, and I looked and I got suspended, and I was like, this is the first time I got on the computer. I'm like, well, how long is it? I said 14 days. I said, thank God, right? Thank God. Now I'm gonna have 2 weeks to deal with this problem, right? So and honestly, that's the way that I felt. Like, I wasn't really even stressed out or upset about it. I'm still really not. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, Twitch is fucking retarded, and what do you expect, right? But anyway, so all this happens, and I immediately just got off the computer. I didn't really think about it, honestly. So because I was so worried about this health problem, then fast forward to the following day, I talked to some couple of people that I know that I could ask about this, and I get one person. I go, and I finally go to the emergency room after talking to one doctor, and they looked at everything. They basically said, calm down, retard, it's okay. And I'm okay. I'm okay, especially this morning. These symptoms have totally gone away. If you want me to be honest, like, just completely, like, 100%, like, just transparent, I'm still worried. I am. I'm 36 years old. I have had really no health problems ever in my entire life other than my teeth. And I see all my friends that are like, now they have this issue, now they have that issue, and it's like, when is it going to be time? My mom used to always say, and this would always upset me, but it's true, something's going to take you home, right? And it does really scare me a lot, and I, like, a lot of times I like to think of myself as being above that, right? But whenever you're faced with it, I realized that I was very much below it. I was extremely scared, I was very upset, and I was really worried. And so I've been dealing with that for the past about 3 or 4 days, and now that it's at least partially resolved, I'm probably going to get a follow-up appointment and have, like, a bit more, like, testing done about this to make sure that I'm okay. But otherwise, like, that's pretty much the reason why I didn't make any comments about it. I was just so preoccupied with that, I just didn't really even give a fuck about Twitch, right? I mean, it's funny how, you can have something that's like, one of the biggest parts of your life, which is like my stream, and then like something else can happen, and it's like the other thing just doesn't even exist anymore, right? It's a very, very weird paradox of life. But anyway, so that's pretty much what happened with me, a couple of days ago and a few days ago. That's why I'd even taken a day off that day. And so, this happens, and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm such a relief. Now I don't have to feel bad about not going live, right? And so anyway, I got suspended for 14 days. That's what happened. Again, wow, a 36-year-old man has a health scare. This has never happened before in the history of humanity. But yeah, that's pretty much what it was. So anyway, the second part is going to be about why I got suspended. So I got suspended because and just to add some context, because this has been very editorialized on the on Twitter and everything like this. But basically, what I said was that so Cuba, which is and a little bit of geography here. So Spain is like on the top of the Mediterranean Sea, straight.
So I should make a comment. I didn't know about the health scare or anything like that, but this isn't surprising at all. Aspen, he doesn't really take care of himself. It's pretty obvious. And I don't expect him to like get up and start running or anything like that. But just the overall diet and stuff. I haven't seen him. I don't know of him really attempting any sort of healthy diet or anything like that. It's all just sort of the same old, same old. So his health issues are not surprising.
Gibraltar's like right here, Spain, right? And so underneath that is Morocco. And in the very, very tip of Morocco, there's a city that's owned by Spain. And it's been owned by Spain for hundreds of years. This isn't like something that's new. This isn't like a recent occupation. This has been going on for like, since before like it's like the Ottoman Empire time days, right? I don't know. I remember reading the date that it happened, but it was like literally hundreds of years ago. So they've had this city, it's called Cuba, for a long time. City has a population of about 80,000 people, and 40 to 60,000, obviously just by the nature of this, it's not really verified how many, random migrants just all came over in about basically one day's time into this small city. Now, this has, in my opinion, like in any other point in history, this would be viewed as a military invasion, because of course the overwhelming majority of these people are military-aged men. And so what I said is that I think that if you have that many people pouring over your border and you just can't deal with it all, like you can look at the footage of this and it literally looks like it's World War Z. It looks like a battlefield, right? It's like a hell on earth type situation. There's trash everywhere and everything. I think I'm straight up said I think you should shoot these people, right? I mean, like, I believe that. I do. I mean, this is a violent military invasion into a city.
Okay, so what Asmon has been covering on his podcast, not his podcast, but his Twitch channel, which is pretty much like a podcast. It's like a radio show. But he's been covering the rape inquiry, which is basically a documentation of over 250,000 rapes that have occurred in Europe, I believe the UK, and this is across a certain time frame. I think over a decade or something like that, but I think over 25 years or something like 25 years. So I don't know the exact time frame, but he's been covering basically atrocities, okay? And he's been covering crimes that illegal, undocumented immigrants, whatever you want to call them, are committing these acts of violence that are documented often. He's covered a lot of these on his podcast, on his Twitch channel. He's spoken out a lot about immigration, mass immigration, and as you can tell, he is an advocate for border laws, for having a strong border, and not allowing mass immigration like what is seen in Spain. You can find photos of this online. And yeah, let's continue.
And after they got into the city, obviously these people were smashing out windows. They were obviously, breaking into stores, stealing things out of stores. I saw like one
I want to comment though, him advocating for these immigrants to be shot at in an indiscriminate manner. It's, I think it's obviously too far. It's too much. It's too much of a that. It's too far, but um, it's probably what got him banned. His strong stance on this, and he talks a lot about that, and he often jokes about things like that. Um, but that position, I don't think it's that far out for someone to consider. But I think a lot of people share that position. And I think reprimanding people for saying something like that, I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, it, I think he should get to say it, but I don't think it makes it right. Okay.
video. It's always hard to know like what's real and what's not. But I saw a video and it's like if you ever watch Troy, like whenever like a fucking Brad Pitt as Achilles like stabbed the dude in the neck at the beginning of the movie, that's like what happened. Like one of these like migrants seemingly stabbed the random citizen in the neck with this knife, right? And they killed this person, I'm assuming, right? Or at least they're in critical condition. So basically, the city is being terrorized by a mass invasion of military-aged migrants that have come over for various different reasons. And people were saying that you couldn't do that because, well, there might be kids in the crowd. And my response to that is that you should shoot them anyway. You should do this anyway. And it doesn't matter really what the collateral damage is. You should defend your borders, especially when you're being invaded by such a massive force of people. So this never really was a conversation about like, baseline immigration enforcement. It was never about like, using kids or anything like that. But the reality is that with a lot of these third world countries and a lot of their cultures in the world, if you use a Western frame of reference to look at the values and the morality of the third world people like this, you're going to render yourself blind. You will not understand their theory of mind. They don't look at things the way that you do. That's why Joseph Kony has his child army, and there was Kony 2012 and everything. That never really went away, by the way. It's still happening. It might not be necessarily him, but there's other ones that are just as bad, if not worse. So the problem is that a lot of Westerners' morality is built off of the concept that everybody else thinks the way that we do, and unfortunately, that's not the reality. And so, what these people will do is that they will bring kids.
He's basically talking about, I think, something that's actually correct, which is that there is this disconnect between well-meaning people who are so well-meaning, but they are also very naive, who don't recognize that allowing open borders is going to permit these sort of mass mobs of people who are ransacking and pillaging and I guess invading, and that's a consequence of I guess open borders. Um, and there's a disconnect between I want to say most I want to say certain well-meaning people and not recognizing the pitfalls or the harms, the consequences, the second order consequences and effects of a certain decision like open borders would entail. And this is what it looks like in Spain right now. All right.
With them, and they will use these kids as effectively human shields in order to invade the country and then take advantage of the people in the country. I view this a lot like a trolley problem, and so the reason what I mean by that is that basically you're choosing to stop the invaders here rather than creating a reward structure and an incentive structure around using kids, trafficking children, and effectively using them as political capital to fulfill an invasion's goal, which is to effectively take over this country. We're not take it over, right? But like, invade the city and then use the city as a way to get into mainland Spain and then disperse themselves all over Europe. This is, I think, a very bad thing, and I think it should be stopped by any means necessary. I think this is a horrible problem. A lot of the people that are coming over there, many of them could be criminals. We have no idea. People said Morocco emptied their prisons and let those people come over. I have no idea if they did that or not. I would assume many cases they did. That's what Russia's done apparently with Ukraine. And so I don't really think this is the first time this has ever happened. There's many precedents for this. A lot of people look at this from the perspective of human rights or something like this. And I find this to be one of the most malignant and pernicious abuses and inversions of morality that we have nowadays. And I'll explain why. Never once have I ever heard about the human rights or the privileges or, what's the right thing to do for all of the people in the city who are now having to be terrified in their homes, boarding their houses up. You have these migrants banging on their doors, smashing their windows, destroying their businesses, potentially violating them, attacking them, and doing whatever they can to these people. You never, not once in my entire life have I ever heard about the concept of their human rights. I never hear about the people who have been the victims of these policies and this lax enforcement, whose lives have been effectively destroyed, and then for some reason we never think about them. We don't care about them. The only people that we care about are these invaders that are going around trying to take advantage of the country. And I think this is a profound inversion of morality. I don't think that any country has an obligation to take in migrants. I don't think any country has an obligation to.
Okay, so there's something that I think is happening actually with this issue. So what you pretty much see, I think, is you can almost imagine where you have invaders that come in on horses, on horseback, and you have these leaders that come in or that greet them and with hospitality, and they're basically bowing at their feet, and they're giving them all the lavish treatment, and they're even offering up their own women and feeding them grapes, that kind of thing, And I think it's a motif that I think is that is relevant to what is happening going on. And I think these people who are in positions of power, or even just people in general, who are trying to seek favor, and it's this disingenuous form of hospitality that I think is very toxic. And it's in a lot of ways has permitted and encouraged a lot of these things that even happen. There's a lot of incentives that are driving these waves, these immigration. A lot of people are. There's been documented cases of people who are committing fraud in like the United States. People who they come to the United States and there's an entire incentive program for them to receive benefits. So you're essentially paying people. You're giving them gifts. You're paying for it. All right.
To let people invade their borders. And I think that at the capacity that was happening with Cuba, I do think that you should use lethal military force to repel a literal fucking invasion.
Let's rewind it. Let's rewind it a little bit.
To take in migrants. I don't think any country. I don't think that any country has an obligation to take in migrants. I don't think any country has an obligation to let people invade their borders. And I think that at the capacity that was happening with Cuba, I do think that you should use lethal military force to repel a literal fucking invasion. Keep in mind, this is a city of 80,000 people, and 40 to 60,000 additional people tried to come in one day. That's an invasion, and I think they should use guns to stop it. And I'm not sorry for saying that. And it doesn't matter what.
So there's something really interesting going on here, a dynamic. you can almost imagine like a spaceship, and or like the Titanic, and it's like people are going for the boats that are the safety rafts, and all these people are trying to flee or whatever, and the Titanic is going down, and people are going. These states are collapsing. They're in great ruin. There's chaos. They're ruled by tyrants. People are fleeing, and and so you can imagine sort of people are I almost imagine like a spaceship, like a NASA spaceship, where people are trying to get inside the spaceship where it's safe, and so many people are trying to get in, like with the Titanic, that they're closing it off, so that they kind of cut they kind of cut the rope, you know what I'm saying? And I think this is kind of happening in the world in general, in a way, like the rope is getting cut, and this is sort of the divide in culture in the world. Um, all right.
You try to use as, emotional blackmail or something like that, fundamentally, all of these different tools that these people use will never actually be applied in a universal way. These are the same people whose ideology leads them to thinking that 6-year-olds can transition to another gender. They're the ones that lead themselves to, defending Hamas and terrorist propaganda, because terrorists like to use kids as human shields as well, because they like to shoot rockets from schools. The reason why they do that is because there is a reward structure inside of our society that puts the damaging and the harm to children and women at a higher standard than the harm to like a military aged man. Now, in a general sense, I would agree with that in a peacetime reality, but whenever these people are launching rockets and large scale invasions, I think that you need to look at this as a wartime event. And I would ask yourself, how many people got killed in World War II? How many people get killed in every single war? Civilian casualties and killing anybody who's not a combatant is a tragedy. It's a horrible thing to have happen. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to have borders. And it doesn't mean that you can't make decisions to protect your own people, even if it comes at the expense of other people that are trying to do this in bad faith and use this. And by the way, the usage of people like this as human shields is a war crime in itself. And that's, I think, the biggest issue that I have with a lot of these people that are criticizing this, is that I don't think that they really care about these kids. They don't give a shit about them. Like, these are the people, they'll bring kids to an ICE protest. Why would you bring a kid to a protest where there's rioting and there's
Okay, there's something to be said about that, honestly. Like, a lot of these people who are indoctrinating their own kids with politics and all this stuff, and celebrate, like, giving their kid chips for brownie points for um championing their own political cause or movement, whatever you want to call it. uh there's something I think that is really manipulative and abusive about that. Something controlling and manipulative about it.
flashbang grenades and tear gas being set off. And the truth is, and there is a reason for it, the reason why they do that is because they want to use these kids and the harm that these kids will inevitably go through because of
As a political pawn, as a propaganda piece, yeah.
collateral damage, and they want to use this as a political tool so they can advance their agenda. These people they're sick. They're sick, evil people. And I also referred to the people that use the human shields as animals. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I think they're fucking animals. If you use children as human shields in order for you to invade a country or in order for you to do terrorist attacks, I think that you're a fucking animal. And I'm not sorry for it.
Okay, I don't think you're an animal. I think that it's uh, I don't really know what to say about that right now. Okay.
And I honestly think that most people agree with me. I think that almost everybody does. But unfortunately, we've had this inversion of morality where these truly evil, malignant, pernicious people have been allowed to use this fake moral authority that they have to dictate that we have to allow terrorism, violence, and complete societal collapse. And if we don't allow this, somehow we're the ones that are evil. I reject this completely. And I understand that in doing so, there might be some people, this isn't a very comfortable thing to say. It's not a very polite thing to say. This isn't something that you'd read on a bumper sticker. But I think this is the nature of the world, and it's the nature of the reality that we live in. And I don't want to use a bunch of euphemisms and other types of vague and pacified language to discuss this in a way that is not authentic to its true harm and its true existence, which is what I think that's what it is. And I think that there are definitely criticisms people have of me that are valid, where like I probably do dial it up a little bit too much and maybe I could use different rhetoric, etc. But I want to let you know that I apologize for nothing. I meant exactly what I said, and I think that these borders should be defended with lethal force whenever it's being invaded by 40 to 60,000 people at the same time. That's an incredibly dangerous thing for all the people that live in that country, and I don't think that a government has an obligation to allow a bunch of invaders to pour over and potentially kill their own citizens. I find this to just be horrible, and ultimately it should be stopped. Also, there are a lot of other patterns, like I'll give another parallel to this as well, is that in a lot of gang culture, what they do, and this is, of course, nothing like this is a monolith, but many of people like this, what they do is they'll use children to commit crimes because they know the children will not be sentenced in the same way that an adult will do. And what my biggest argument for all of this is that I generally, and I know people might not believe this, I think most people do believe this, but the people that don't like me don't believe this or they don't want to, is that I think that I really do have the most moral and ethical position on this. Because the moment that you create an incentive, you also drive a behavior. And in my opinion, if you don't capitulate to this emotional blackmail, you also don't allow these people to target and victimize these children by using them as baggage and effectively shock troopers in order to accomplish a goal. So, for example, if these kids were being charged as adults, the entire tool that these people were using, these gangs were using of having children commit crimes on their behalf, this tool would effectively be rendered ineffective. But we don't want to do that because it makes people sad to put kids in jail. But from my perspective, the way that I see it is that it makes me sad to see kids that were abused, that are trafficked, and that are put into these situations because the people that are truly and profoundly evil, the people that know this, know that they can use these children because they can co-opt and use your morality against you so they can push their own evil designs. And I think that you do have to reject this in its entirety in order to have a society that isn't ruled by evil, inversion, and other types of just completely horrible people. And ultimately, you do have to sometimes make hard decisions like that, but ultimately making a hard decision like that should never have... that's my alarm. I was supposed to get up. It's 2:46 p.m. And so, excuse me on that. So you do have to make these hard decisions. You do have to do things that are obviously, sometimes not the nicest things in the world. But I think that in order to do that, you do that in the goal to preserve a culture that is the best place that you want to live in the world as well. So that's the problem that I have. I don't think that I said anything wrong. I think that a lot of people actually would agree with me. And I think that the way that we've taken military action in the past, things like, for example, World War II, would indicate that actually this is not as much an objective reality that some people would make it out to be. And again, these are the same people that have no problem using children as props and having them, groomed by adults, about their gender, taking them to ICE protests, putting them directly in danger because there are rioters and criminals and violence there. Who would ever bring a kid there? And these are the same people that are saying that I'm wrong for saying that creating an incentive for people to human traffic children and use them as human shields is a bad bad thing. And so I apologize for absolutely nothing. I said it in a very abrasive way, and I'm going to continue communicating that way. It's how I was raised. The reality is that, my dad was, I was driving my dad to the hospital. He was like getting one of his cancer treatments. And he said, well, what's funny about this? And I said, what? And he says, well, now they can say you killed me too, just like they say you killed your mom. That's the way I grew up. That's the way I communicate. And that's the way I think. And I'm not sorry. And I understand that sometimes I use abrasive language. Sometimes I communicate in a way that's a little bit, harsh. And, people can say I'm mean. They can say I'm evil. They can say everything. But they're not saying I'm wrong. And I think that ultimately we should look at a lot of these uncomfortable truths with a lot more of a clear mind, rather than allowing it to be polluted by by people that I think want to hurt us, people that want to put us in a position that is not advantageous. And that's the reason why I communicate the way that I do. It is hopefully to normalize this type of language and for people to see things for what they are rather than what they want them to be. And I think that's for better and for worse. So that's the reason why I talk the way that I do. I'm not sorry. It's probably not going to it's probably not going to stop. I might try to I'm going to try to obviously tone it down a little bit, because I don't want to get suspended all the time, right? Contrary to popular belief, it's great to have a vacation, but I don't want to have them all the time. And so, that's pretty much where things stand. That's the way that I feel. That's my reasoning for it. I view it as a trolley problem, and I think it enables human trafficking the moment that you capitulate to that type of emotional blackmail. So that's really the way that I feel. And I know this might be a harsh opinion. It might not be something that everybody agrees with, but I think it is the ethically correct thing to do, given the, the implications of doing otherwise. So anyway, that's the way that I feel. Now, what's going to happen now? I'll probably file an appeal in a day or so. Hopefully I can get unsuspended earlier. I don't really know. I'll probably, I can try to, I wish I could just talk to them. It's really funny. So Twitch emails me and they say you had an accidental content violation because you accidentally showed something on your stream you shouldn't have showed. And they sent me an email for this. So I said, I respond back. I'm like, oh yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. And so then I get suspended for 2 weeks. No email. I don't have any email. So this is the funniest thing, by the way. I actually don't even know this is why I got banned. Twitch has never communicated to me what the thing is that I did wrong that got me banned. I'm just guessing it's probably the thing that everybody was mad about, right? So I don't know. Maybe it's actually some other random clip that had nothing to do with this. But that's generally what my thinking on it is. Will I be back? Yeah, sure, I'll be back. It's been nice to have a little bit of a vacation. I've been stressed out about other life stuff. I feel like I'm in kind of a position in my life now where it's like, what am I doing with my life? Where do I want to be in 5 or 10 years, right? It's kind of midlife crisis type stuff I'm dealing with. I don't talk about this a lot on stream because it's stupid, boring, and it's also, it's indulgent, and I don't want to treat my viewers like my own personal diary, but I have been going through my own personal issues as well, especially right after losing both my parents, and I'm living here by myself, and, it gives you a lot of questions for what to do in life, and, I don't want to get too into that, but, just know that that's the backdrop for a lot of the ways that, I'm dealing with things personally off stream. And so, yeah, and then all these things happen. I have this health scare, and it's like, oh my God, this is, am I dying, right? Is this happening? And so that's really kind of why I haven't immediately responded. It had nothing to do really with Twitch at all. I was worried about something that was a lot more important. So anyway, guys, thank you all very much for watching. I'll be back really soon. I haven't really decided. Maybe I'll just come back and stream on Kick. I can just wait out the suspension. I don't really know. I'll probably get a few other real life weekly and monthly quests done, and just try to relax a little bit, which has been great. I slept for 10 hours yesterday, so I'm in kind of good mood right now. And so anyway, that's pretty much what the plan is, and yeah, that's about all I've got. I'll be back, and see you next time. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching and sticking around this long. Sorry it's such a long video. There's a lot to talk about, and a lot that's happened. So yeah, that's the way I feel. That's where I'm at. That's what's going on, and I'll see you guys very soon. So until next time, boys. Peace. See ya.
Okay, guys. All right. Now, a little comment time. So Asmon has been reporting on a lot of very controversial issues in the world. I think the censorship of his channel, um, I th- I definitely think it's a suppression of things that he has to say, and I believe that Twitch can Twitch they don't have to platform him. It's their business, but it's the suppression of what what he's trying to say, what he's bringing to the table, the ideas. Yes, he speaks in a very, I guess, inflammatory way, very edgy, very I can't really explain the way in which he talks. He talks about he makes very casual remarks about, I guess, like like he thinks that a lot of these people should just get shot and so on. He'll just say things like that very casually. Um, but it's what he believes, I guess. So, but the thing is I think the issue with his channel getting suppressed, I don't think I don't think it's an issue that'll go away. I think that it's a signature of a deeper issue that I think you give an inch and they take a mile sort of thing, and it's this banning of Asmon in this instance that I think it is it's a signature of what's to come, I suppose. I can what may come, I suppose. I think mass suppression of speech is a reality that can happen, that has happened in the past. You take Soviet Russia, many of the people who were not, who didn't glaze the government and Stalin and all that stuff, um, they were a lot of the people who weren't stern advocates or the stern sort of representatives of ideology that they wanted. They were met with criminal punishment, uh, even torture on a mass scale. A lot of people who were not lockstep with the Soviet Union were punished very severely. And what happened with Asmon's channel, yes, he got banned on Twitch. It sounds very petty. 2 weeks. But it's a punishment nonetheless. It's a slap on the wrist. It's the first infraction. Um and where does it lead? Where do these punishments lead? If he doesn't stop covering the things that he covers on his Twitch. What's um there are people who want to kill Asmongold. It's just pretty self-evident. A lot of people want to, a lot of these people who gain political notoriety, they they get these psychos that, even Hassan Piker, he's probably seen them himself, and he's on the other side of the political aisle. Um, but that's the extreme. That's the extreme that wants to suppress. That wants him to stop reporting on the things that he's reporting on. And I think it's because what he reports on is so revealing. It's like, imagine someone commits a crime and they try to cover up the crime and they see someone trying to expose it, they're going to try to stop that person. That's just like, it's pretty obvious. And I think that's what's happening. Um, and to say that, okay, why would Twitch try to stop him from trying to report on these issues. And it's because people wager on things, like people wagered on Nazi Germany. People and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good when you support open borders and you make a position of pride, and then you're telling everyone openly about it. You're making a grand narcissistic spectacle of how virtuous you are and all these things. And then someone turns on the TV and you see this mass import of people. You could even imagine like a more, say they're raping and pillaging. They're just it's a and it's like that person wants to just rush and just turn that TV off so they can maintain that narrative that they just deliver to everyone. Um and that's sort of the abdication, the foregoing of accountability, not accounting for those details. And I think that is really important to be able to look at the dark side and to make a decision based off of that, off of the unfavorable details, I suppose. The harms associated with something like immigration. How yeah, you're gonna have people that immigrate that are just mass murderers. It's gonna be who just go on a killing spree. Um, and and it's important to take those harms into consideration so that you know the weight of your decisions, I suppose, on the issue. And I think a lot of people don't do that. I think a lot of people they like to just say what sounds nice without having to do any of the accounting. You want to feed everyone in the world. You don't want anyone to go hungry. But and you don't care how it gets done. But then you refuse to see how it gets done, or you refuse. It, they'll tell you, people, they want all these things of virtue, all these things that sound nice, but it's how they get there that's important. Um, that's a lot of what gets left out of the talk, is how it's gonna get done and what is that actually gonna look like. How many people are gonna die? How many people are gonna suffer? Um, and I think that's a conversation a lot of people don't want to have, but I think it's the mature thing to do, is to address it. If you're gonna have mass immigration, you're gonna have people that just come in and start killing people. And it's gonna start where the border is open at, you know, and this issue that it's kind of like a trolley problem. It's like the Titanic, people are it's kind of like people trying to get into an escape pod on a spaceship or something, and these people want to live. But if these people get onto the ship, um the people on the ship might not live. And I think that's the main fear, I suppose, that Asmon is talking about, where it's a conservative approach of like, okay, if you have mass immigration, it could destroy everything about the state. It could corrupt the entire state. The culture may fall apart. Like imagine Paris just I guess, getting erased, just totally flattened. And it's that loss, I suppose, of culture of a people. It's like if you replace a place of like Paris and you trade it for a place like I don't know, Sudan, Africa. Don't take offense, guys, please. But I guess like a third world country. I don't know much about Sudan, honestly. It might be a nice place, but just a third world country. You know, you exchange um Paris for a third world country. All these ideas you grew up with of Paris being a nice place, of like a romantic ideas, it's all gone. It's Paris isn't even what it's called anymore, you know. Um and he's trying to preserve the idea of Paris, hypothetically speaking. Um but the reality is that Paris can go. It can be no more. It can be a thing of the past. Um and that's happened before. And it's going to happen again. And he wants to stop this. He and it's understandable. He wants to preserve the state or whatever. Um, it's a really complex topic to talk about. I do think states can go through periods of death and rebirth. It's gonna happen. The stress test, it might take it out. Um, and it's that's what we have to live with. I think is that this this separation in culture be, between extremes. Um, it's like, what do we make of that? You know, how do we ultimately, what do we do about it? You know, do we with the one extreme of say third world countries and all of that versus like first world countries? Should there be a border? Should it be, you know, the third world is holding onto the rope and the first world is holding it up, and the first world is up here and the third world is down here, and the third world is trying to hold on and the first world is starting to let go. And this is the idea I sort of get with this discussion is like, what is going to happen? I honestly don't really know. I I think deep down, I honestly think that at a certain point, the first world is actually going to let go, and the third world in this situation is they're going to, I want to say, get abandoned by the first world. Um, that sort of the borders will close. This is kind of science fiction, but um, it's it is sort of a science fiction hypothesis, or like, you know, maybe possibility. You know what I mean? So, and it seems like Asmon, he wants the third world. He wants to leave the third world behind. Is what it sounds like. And there's a lot of people who don't. Um, and you know, I don't know. It's not my call. You know, that's how I feel about it. I I think that's the drama that's sort of playing. That's starting to crystallize, I suppose. That's how I see the problem, broadly speaking. Is the third world gonna get left behind? And should it get left behind? You know. And there's this idea of assimilating to culture that there's people who have immigrated into, say, Western nations or first world countries, and they assimilate to those cultures, and that like it's like a person who immigrates from Africa and they get a job. They might get into education. They might get educated. Um, they will they will follow the laws in a reasonable manner. They'll behave they will adapt to the culture, and they will um be important to the people around them. They'll just be like anybody else. And that's called cultural assimilation, I believe. But then you kind of have the other side of that coin where these people they commit crimes. They don't assimilate. They impose their religious um blasphemy laws on those around them. They want people to assimilate to them. And you know, I don't really know what's going to happen, honestly. I think good will eventually triumph. That it inevitably does. Um, but this idea of assimilation, I think good people can assimilate, you know, and yeah, I just want to. I think I want to leave it at that. So, thank you guys for watching. Is kind of I just wanted to make a reaction video, content farm. Asmon, I don't think he would really care. Um, I watch his videos sometimes. He kind of gets me thinking. So I think I think the reason why Asmon is as effective as he is and as popular as he is that in he somehow manages to be pretty honest, and I think that honesty has done him a lot of favors. He hasn't he hasn't sold out. I don't think of Asmon as a sellout. I don't think he he sold out to the blackmail of political correctness. He I think there's an authenticity about him that is actually admirable in some sense, as much as it is raw, and often unfiltered. And I think he's not right all the time, but I think he does get some things right. Like his reaction of wanting to kill, like just shoot the people immigrating. I think that's wrong, actually. But I think he's brought the right issue to the table, you know, of mass immigration and what follows mass something like what's happening in Spain right now. I think it's the right focus. I think his attention is in the right place when it comes to global issues. I think he a lot of the travesties and things that people don't pay attention to, he's brought to light. Um, he is popularized and um, brought to attention. As unconventional as he is, I think his authenticity and honesty has served him um, in a beneficial way. He's not just merely trying to appeal to some political party or ideal or anything like that. Not that I can tell. He's not trying to be the perfect ideologue. He just says what he thinks, and if that's in a book of like some, some um if it's in some book of like some ideologue book like the Communist Manifesto or whatever, he doesn't care if it appeals to it or not. It's just kind of individualistic, and honest. So he's not trying to appeal to nobody, and I think that it served him well because I don't think anyone can really appeal to everyone. Um, it would be cool if that was the case. I don't really think it is. I don't know. Um, so yeah. Okay. I'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys for watching. I just wanted to content farm Asmon a little bit. Um, let me know your guys' thoughts on the videos. On the video as well. This one. My it's late, okay? Have a good night, everybody. Or good day, and deuces.